Mr. Vince Williams re-signing with the Pittsburgh Steelers? Woo! Now I ain't gonna lie, I was hyped about
I
this.
know, definitely.
I was
Same.
hyped
Yeah,
about
yeah.
this, man. I just think about Vince, man. Like, because for me it's different, right? I love to watch his game, but it was also fun because I got to share the field with him. And just thinking about some of the things that he would do to set the tone, man. Like him coming back, that's that identity that we need in terms of just that physicality, that nastiness, right? We know he's not the best athlete. He's never been. He's never going to be the fastest way. He's never going to be the best cover man. But man, think about what he brings to the table. He is a great run defender. He's great in terms of blitzing the quarterback. And he's great in terms of his leadership, man. You think about Devin Bush's play when he's next to Vince Williams versus if he's not out there with him, man, and Devin is having to do all of the communication, all of the thinking. It's a lot harder, way more difficult. But for Vince, man, he's the big brain guy out there, man. He knows exactly what this defense is going to need, the calls, the checks, and everything like that. And ultimately, it's going to free up my man, Devin Bush, so he can eat. So for me, man, I was like, yo, this is beautiful. This is perfect. This is what we needed.
This is perfect because we're talking about how much of a need inside linebacker has randomly become in this offseason. We weren't really expecting it. Maybe we should have, though. You pointed to it, but I was trying to turn a blind eye. You're like, hey, bro, we could be losing Vince Williams, Avery Williamson here. We don't know about Spillane, so we might have to draft someone. I thought our focus was going to be completely running back and offensive line, but yeah, inside linebacker has become a big-time need, and I've even flipped on it to where I'm like, dude, we got to draft an inside linebacker in the first round. I think that'd be the smartest move. But now with Vince Williams back, we got Spillane, and now they're talking about Avery Williamson a little bit. We can get to that later maybe. I think it's a great move. And like all the reasons that you said, we need an inside linebacker who is more familiar with the system up to this point.
Absolutely.
And we saw what Vince Williams did last year, those first, 6, 7, 8 games.
He was leading the league
when he was with Devin Bush.
Right.
Bro, like him, Alualu, like the whole front seven was
freaky,
just
bro.
insane. So if we could get some semblance of that next season, I think our defense could be kind of nice.
I mean, think about what you just said, right? At the beginning of the year, that's when we were going on that run where we were all kind of like, even though we felt like they still had some shortcomings, we felt like, man, this is a championship roster, the way the defense looks and the way the offense looked early on. Vince coming back, you're going to be able to get something similar to that. Now, they still have little things they're going to have to adjust in terms of pass rush depth, right? That becomes another thing, but we said that wasn't going to be as prevalent this offseason. So to me, man, Vince coming back, that definitely takes a big need off of the board for the Steelers on defense. And now you can go back to that thought process of focusing mainly on running back and offensive line, because we know right now, even though they've made some re-signings, right, or they went out and outsourced and got help for the offensive line, it still isn't of the same caliber of the help that they got defensively. To me, the Vince Williams re-signing is way bigger of a move than them bringing back B.J. Finney or J.C. Hassenauer. But think about both of those guys right now are slated to be the starter. And you could just see the different caliber of players that those two guys are compared to a Vince Williams. So I still think that we're going to have to put that focus back on O-line and running back now, but it's a way better version of us doing that versus us having to compromise ourselves defensively to address those needs. I really like this signing a lot, man.
Yeah, so how do you feel then if we're just going with Vince Williams, Devin Bush, we don't pick a linebacker in, say, the first 3 rounds? Do you feel really good about our defense then?
I do, and don't leave out Robert Spillane. I think he'll still be in the mix, not as a starter. Now, depending on which, media person or beat writer you want to talk to, some people think that Spillane is going to get the nod over Vince. For me, I personally, and the reason they're saying is because Spillane gives you a little bit more athleticism, right? But for me, I know Coach Tomlin loves the physicality and just the identity that Vince plays with, and ultimately his big understanding of this defense, both in front of him and behind him. Why is that important? Man, you can get gashed on a play if your check is not right up front. As simple as it may seem of, hey, slide the D-line to the left when it's a 3-man side. That simple check can be the difference of a tackle for a loss versus a 30-yard gain. And it's things like that Vince never misses on. And that's what's allotted him this longevity in terms of the NFL, because like I said before, he wasn't an early round draft pick. He's a part of that 6th round crew. I love 6th round draft picks. But then also, he was undersized. He's not fast. And he's literally a 80s, 90s linebacker stuck in this era. How does he survive? Knowledge and deciding that, hey, if I'm not going to be a great cover linebacker, I have to be an elite blitzing linebacker. Those are the two style linebackers that survive in the NFL. You're either a great cover guy or you're a great blitzer. If you can't figure out where you're going to be there, you're not going to survive in this league. And that's how he evolved. Whereas a guy like Brandon Spikes, remember out of Florida, second round draft pick in 2010 as well, was a beast at stopping the run.
Yeah.
But he never evolved in terms of either being a cover guy or a quarterback rusher on third down possession downs. And that's why he wasn't able to last as long. But for Vince, man, this is what you need. This is the type of signing that you want. And now I feel a lot better going into this draft, man.
I know for sure. So I'm looking back on some of his game logs last year. So that Cleveland game,
the first one, right?
No, the second one.
Okay.
This is when we were really complaining about the defensive front seven. This is basically the opposite from the beginning of the season. We were like, what was going on with the linebackers? Their running backs were torching us. So he played 52% of those snaps. Now, what I'm going to bring up is, how important is Devin Bush then being with Vince Williams? I think Devin Bush could be the catalyst then, because at that point we had Vince Williams, Avery Williamson, and Spillane.
Yes, correct.
But if we match Vince Williams with Devin Bush, and we know those are the two starting linebackers potentially, whether like you said with Spillane, I don't know how much they're going to be using him, but that I feel like that frees a ton up now.
Yeah.
Like going with our Steelers defense, like with just the linebacker group and what we could be doing. Like Devin Bush, I think, is a big catalyst. Like him being healthy, coming back.
Absolutely, because the problem is Vince with Avery or Vince with Spillane. All it is just a modified version, and you could say it's either a plus or minus of Vince with John Bostic, right?
Sure.
Bostic isn't a bad player, but if you put him next to Vince, those two guys are too similar. So now you're going to have one person playing out of position. One of these guys are going to have to go out here and do the dirty work, right? And the same could be said when it was Avery out there, right? It's like, man, Avery and Vince y'all are very similar. Avery, you're a little bit more athletic, right? But y'all are still similar. Neither one of you guys are Devin Bush. Neither one of you guys are Ryan Shazier. So when it comes to pairing these guys, Vince, Spillane, or Avery could flourish next to Devin, because Devin takes on the part that they struggle in, the coverage element of it. So that's why you need Devin. That's why it's all about Devin being able to be a star, because that's what he is capable of. Very similar to Ryan. Ryan was taking that same leap, and we saw it. We got a chance to see a year and a half of that star power that he had. Devin has that, but you got to pair Devin next to one of these Vince Williams, Robert Spillane, Avery Williamson types that are going to do the dirty work for him in terms of being that thumper, because we know that he will hit, but it's different in terms of how he comes downhill versus how Vince comes downhill. It just is what it is. But it's a difference when it comes to the coverage element of it as well. So that's why, for me, I think you can pair any of those three guys as long as Devin is out there. When you start pairing those guys together minus Devin Bush, it's always going to be underwhelming. It's always going to leave you wanting more because they're just too similar.
That's the thing I don't think we really talked about as much later into the season, because we're trying to win games, and we think the defense that we have right now, however it's pieced together, we should still be winning this. But now looking forward into this season, this move definitely makes a lot of sense, and I'm pretty pumped about it. Like, just think if we were comping, at least I was, comping Bolton to Vince Williams. So, like, just think if we got Bolton in the second round versus Vince Williams. Like, who would you rather have going into next season? I'd take Vince Williams.
Yeah, I would as well, man. And the thing, too, is with a rookie linebacker, right, it's always going to be a learning curve. It doesn't matter where you draft this guy. Think about, we drafted Devin Bush in the top 10. And we all said the first year, it was like...
You can see the flashes.
Right, we saw flashes, but it was also some growing pains. So it's not just you're going to come first round and this guy is ready to go day one. Ryan Shazier is another prime example of that. So for me, if I got a chance to go with a proven commodity and it's going to be a 1-year deal anyways, give me the proven commodity. And then next year, if I want to really upgrade the linebacker position, well, now I'll have a lot more resources. Now I'll have a lot more flexibility, just depending on how this season goes, versus you locking yourself into this player. And then you're like,
yeah, these 1-year deals are great.
Yeah, it gives you flexibility. That's the beauty of it. And it fits for what we're trying to do right now. When you have the uncertainty in terms of, all right, is this the last year for Ben, or is it another year? Is it potentially 2 more years, depending on how well he plays, right? Well, now that gives you flexibility. All right, well, we want to extend this guy. We want to do this and this and this. But the flip side is, say Ben comes out here, he plays however he plays, good or bad, it doesn't matter. And he says, you know what, I want to hang it up. I'm done after this year. Well, now you got the flexibility to say, all right, well, if we really need to upgrade and rebuild, I'm not stuck with this guy under contract and that guy under contract. Absolutely. So that's why for me, I'm like, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and we don't have to invest in an inside linebacker.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Is that what you're thinking then? You're good
Yeah.
with us completely passing on inside linebacker the
I
first
am.
3 rounds?
I am, honestly, man. For
I am
me,
too. Yeah.
I'm looking at it now. I would love to go O-line at 24, and then I'm looking to either move. Like I said, I want to move
Javonte.
up. So if Javonte is available, sure. But if and we'll know depending on how that first round goes, right? If we don't see a running back going that first round, well, okay, 2 of these guys are going to go off within those first that 33 to 50 range. Then after that, we're probably going to be the only team in that 50 to 55 that needs a back. So yeah, you'll be fine that you wouldn't have to move up. But if Etienne is gone or Harris is gone or both of those guys are gone, well, now it's a lot more pressure because in that second round, it's going to be a couple of teams in there that are going to need a running back. So you would be forced to move up. But worst case,
unless they feel really good about
right,
one of those later backs.
Exactly, because that's the other thing. It's like a guy that I talked about, Stevenson, right? You could easily get him 4th, 5th round. Easily. Trey Sermon, you could get him 4th, 5th, 3rd round potentially, right? Chuba Hubbard is going to be in that mix as well. Even the guy, I'm drawing a blank on his name. Oh, my goodness.
Kylan Hill.
Kylan Hill, yeah. I was going to call him Kylan Hill. He's another guy. So it's like, if they feel like, hey, we would rather get 2 beast offensive linemen in the first round and the second round, and then 3rd round or 4th round, whichever one that guy is available to us, we'll bring him in committee style next year for the running game, and we'll be good with the revamped offensive line. I would love that approach as well. Like for me, this Vince Williams signing, it gives him so much more versatility and freedom now.
Yeah, it's crazy, dude. It's crazy how like small of a signing it is just because it's a 1-year deal. I'm assuming the money's not going to be that crazy.
Yeah.
And we thought there's no shot of it happening just because we released Vince Williams.
Right.
And it's almost like the Tyson Alualu thing.
Seriously, man.
So we definitely won in both of those scenarios. I'll be interested to see what the contract is, but there's no way it could be more than like $2 or $3 million.
Top.